The October international break has come to an end, which means that the UEFA Champions League is back this week. Now, the first two match days have been incredible so far, but what do the next set of games have in store for us? So these are the first 9 matches that are taking place on Tuesday, and there's a bunch of incredible matchups to look forward to. I'm personally looking forward to Barcelona versus Olympiacos, Leverkusen versus PSG, Arsenal versus Atletico. There's a lot of good ones happening on Tuesday. If we take a look at the Wednesday matches, there's a bunch of good games here as well. You got Chelsea versus Ajax, you got Frankfurt versus Liverpool, you got the marquee matchup Real Madrid versus Juventus. So there's a lot to look forward to this week. Let's take a look at all 18 games from Matchday 3 in the Champions League to see what each team has to look forward to this week and who has the best chance of adding 3 points to their total tally. So we're going to start off with Barcelona versus Olympiacos. That's the first match of the day. If we take a look here, Barcelona have come away with a 2-1 win against Newcastle in their first game, but they suffered a 2-1 loss at home to PSG in Matchday 2. If we're looking at Matchday 3 here, it's pretty obvious to tell that Barcelona have the advantage over Olympiacos. If you look at the table here, Barcelona are in a playoff spot right now. They sit 16th place with 3 points from their first 2 matches, but Olympiacos are all the way down in 29th with only 1 point from their first 2 matches. They didn't do a great job in their first 2 games. They had a 0-0 draw versus Paphos on Matchday 1 in a game that they probably should have won, and then they suffered a pretty embarrassing 2-0 defeat to Arsenal in London. So Olympiacos don't really have much of a chance in this game. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot. I think Barcelona should have a pretty easy time. They have a few injuries to key players right now, but they should be fine. What's my prediction for this game? I'm going to go with a 3-0 victory going Barcelona's way. It should be a pretty easy job for them. It's going to be an interesting match. The next game of the day is going to be between Kairat, Almaty and Paphos in Kazakhstan, and this is honestly the best chance for both teams to grab a win in this tournament. Kairat Almaty haven't gotten off to a good start. They had a 4-1 loss to Sporting on Matchday 1 and then a 5-0 thrashing against Real Madrid at home. Again, they didn't have much of a chance against Real Madrid, but they almost scored in like the first 10 seconds of that game, so that was pretty interesting. If we take a look at how Paphos have done so far in their first 2 games, they had a pretty impressive 0-0 draw against Olympiacos on their first match day. They had a few chances, but they didn't really do too much to score, and then they had a pretty shocking 5-1 loss to Bayern Munich, which was expected. I don't think anyone thought they were going to beat Bayern in their own pitch. Looking at the next game though, this should be a pretty interesting one. I don't really know which way it's gonna go because I feel like both teams are pretty level in this one. I think Kairat have a bit of an advantage because they're hosting it all the way in Kazakhstan, and Paphos have to go pretty much all the way across Europe and a bit of Asia to get there, so maybe they have a bit of a home field advantage, but they have some injuries to key players, so I'm not too sure how well they're going to do here. In my opinion, I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory going Paphos' way. They're going to come away with a surprise win against Almaty, and it should be a good match from start to finish. The next game we're going to talk about is Union St.Gilloise versus Inter. I'm really excited for this match here. Union St.Gilloise had a crazy 3-1 victory over PSV Eindhoven in their first ever Champions League match. But then in their first ever Champions League match at home, they lost 4-0 to Newcastle, so it's been pretty up and down for them so far. If we take a look at Inter's results so far, they've been pretty dominant. They came away with a 2-0 victory over Ajax in Amsterdam, and then a 3-0 thrashing over Slavia Prague back in Italy. Taking a look at this upcoming game, I don't really see Inter having too many problems in this one. Union St.Gilloise might get a goal if they have a good chance, but I think Inter are the stronger team. And if we look at the table, like Inter are they're in 4th place right now, so they're doing very well. Union St.Gilloise are in a playoff spot, but I don't really think they're gonna get much more from this game. I think they're gonna lose this one. My prediction for this game, I'm gonna go with a 3-0 victory for Inter. I think they're gonna be pretty dominant, and they shouldn't have too many problems in this one. The next game of the day is gonna be between Copenhagen and Borussia Dortmund. Now this one should be a relatively close match between 2 good sides. If we look at Copenhagen so far, they came away with a 2-2 draw versus Bayer Leverkusen on Matchday 1, but they did suffer a pretty embarrassing 2-0 defeat to Qarabag, who are actually doing really good right now. Borussia Dortmund, on the other hand, have been playing really well. They came away with a thrilling 4-4 victory against Juventus on Matchday 1, which was honestly my favorite game of the Champions League so far. And then they dominated Atletico with a 4-1 win over them in Germany. Taking a look at this upcoming game, it's kind of hard to tell who is the advantage here. Like, I think on paper, Dortmund are the better team, but I think Copenhagen might finally break through on this one and come away with maybe not a win, maybe a draw or something. Like, I don't think they're going to lose this one. The head-to-head, the last time they played each other was in 2022. Dortmund came away with a 3-0 win and then a 1-1 draw in Copenhagen. My prediction for this game, I think I'm going to go with a hot take and say Copenhagen comes away with a 1-0 win over Borussia Dortmund. It's going to be a close game, but it's going to be a good one. So the next match I want to talk about is between Leverkusen and PSG. Now this one I'm really looking forward to, but I think it's going to be pretty one-sided. If we take a look at how Leverkusen have performed so far, they had a pretty good performance in their 2-2 draw against Copenhagen, but they were a little lackluster against PSV when they only came away with a 1-1 draw at home. I was expecting a bit more from them. Taking a look at PSG down here, they've been super dominant so far. They came away with a 4-0 victory over Atalanta in their first game, and then a really impressive 2-1 victory over Barcelona in Barcelona. I was really surprised that they didn't draw this game. I thought it was going to be a draw or maybe go Barcelona's way, but good for them. So if we're taking a look at their next match against Bayer Leverkusen, this one happening in Germany, I think PSG just have the better team in this one. They have the momentum right now. Bayer Leverkusen are looking a little lost at the moment. If we take a look at the head-to-head, they haven't played each other since 2014, so this was over 10 years ago. Not the best sample size, but I think even back then, PSG were the stronger side. So for this one, I'm going to go with a 4-0 victory going PSG's way. It's going to be a great match, but very one-sided. Moving on to another thrilling game that's going to be happening on Tuesday. It's going to be Villarreal taking on Manchester City in Spain. Now, this one is going to be a good one. Villarreal had an unfortunate loss to Tottenham in their first match day when they conceded an own goal. But then they were really good against Juventus to get a 2-2 draw, so they have a bit of momentum right now. Manchester City, on the other hand, they had a 2-0 victory over Napoli in their first game where they played pretty well. But their 2-2 draw against Monaco, they probably should have done better. They're probably not happy with themselves getting a draw against the Monaco side. Taking a look at this next game between Villarreal and Manchester City, I don't really know how this one's going to go. Like, I think Manchester are going to come away with a win, but Villarreal have the firepower to put up at least a fight at home. For this one, I'm going to say it's going to be a Manchester City 2-0 victory over Villarreal in Spain. It's going to be a good one, but Manchester City are just the stronger side in my opinion. So the next game to talk about is going to be between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid. This is honestly the marquee matchup for Tuesday night. Let's see how Arsenal have done so far. They came away with a 2-0 victory over Athletic Club on Matchday 1, where they were definitely the better side, and then another comfortable 2-0 victory over Olympiacos. So they're kind of cooking right now. If we take a look at Atletico Madrid, they came ever so close to beating or drawing against Liverpool on Matchday 1, but then Van Dijk's header in the final minute secured them a loss, which was pretty unfortunate. But they rebounded really well. They had a 5-1 victory over Eintracht Frankfurt. That was a great game. So they have their momentum back for the moment. If we're taking a look at this upcoming game, they're playing at the Emirates, so Arsenal have a bit of an advantage, but on paper, they look like a pretty strong side. I don't think there's too many injuries. There's a few injuries for Arsenal, so their key players like Odegaard, Havertz, Gabriel Jesus are out, but on Atletico side, they should be okay. For their head-to-head, they haven't played each other since 2018, so it's been pretty close, but their last two games were pretty close, so I think this one is going to be close as well. My prediction for this one, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for the two teams. I don't think anyone has what it takes to break the other one down, so it's going to be a close game, but a good one. Another match from Tuesday night that I'm looking forward to is going to be between Newcastle and Benfica. This one is going to be a solid game. Newcastle honestly played pretty well in their 2-1 opening loss to Barcelona. I don't think that scoreline reflects just how good they actually performed in that game, but they were incredibly dominant in their 4-0 victory over Union St.Gilloise, so they're playing pretty good at the moment. If we take a look at Benfica though, it's a bit of a different story. So they had a 2-0 lead in their opening game against Qarabag, and then they fumbled it to lose 3-2. That was pretty bad. And then they played a little better against Chelsea, but they weren't able to score any goals or come away with any big moments, so they suffered a 1-0 loss in that one. So they don't really know what's going on right now with Benfica. Honestly, it's been a pretty bad start to the season. If we take a look at their upcoming game, there's a few injuries to a few players, but I don't think anything too crazy. If we look at the head-to-head, the last time they played each other was in a friendly back in 2022, but even back in 2013 when they played in the Europa League, Benfica were the better team. It's hard to tell with this one, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw between the two sides. I think it's going to be a close match from start to finish, and one that I'm really looking forward to. So the final game from Tuesday night is going to be between PSV Eindhoven and Napoli. This is going to be a really good one for all the neutral fans out there. If we take a look at how PSV have done so far, it's been a bit of a mixed bag for them. They came away with a 3-1 loss to Union St.Gilloise on Matchday 1, which honestly I don't think they were expecting, but they played better in their 1-1 draw versus Bayer Leverkusen on Matchday 2. Could have come away with a win, but it just wasn't meant to be. If we take a look at Napoli down here, they suffered a pretty embarrassing 2-0 loss to Manchester City on Matchday 1 when their captain got sent off, but then they came away with a really good performance in their 2-1 victory over Sporting CP on Matchday 2. Taking a look at this next game between the two sides, I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. I don't know why. I think this one is going to be really good, and there's going to be a lot of goals in this one. For their head-to-head, they haven't played each other since 2012, but when they did, there's at least 3 goals in both games, so I think that trend is going to continue in this one. If I'm going to make a prediction for this one, I'm going to go with a 4-3 victory going PSV's way. I think that's a bit of a shock result, but I just have a feeling that PSV are going to get their first win in this game. So now we're moving forward with Wednesday's games, and these matches are going to be really good. So the first one we're going to talk about is going to be between Galatasaray and Bodo Glimt. So how have Galatasaray done so far? It's been pretty interesting. Their first game, they lost 5-1 to Eintracht Frankfurt after scoring the first goal. Wasn't a great performance, but then they came away with a 1-0 victory over Liverpool at the Rams Park in Istanbul. This was a great game, honestly. If you missed it, go watch the highlights. Highly recommend it. If we're taking a look at Bodo Glimt, though, they've been a mixed bag so far. They came away with a 2-2 draw over Slavia Prague, where they came away with a crazy comeback at the end of that match, and then a 2-2 draw over Tottenham in Norway in the Arctic Circle, which was really impressive. So it feels like they should have at least won one of those games so far, but they haven't. So this game is going to be really crucial for them. Taking a look at this upcoming one, I just think that Galatasaray have the better side. They have the momentum. They have a crazy set of fans who are going to be cheering for them the entire game. It's going to be hard for Bodo Glimt to break through in this game. I just don't think their playstyle is going to match up. If we take a look at the table, though, both teams are kind of in desperate need of a win. Galatasaray sit 21st, and Bodo Glimt are on the very periphery of the playoffs. They sit 24th. So what are my predictions for this one? I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory going Galatasaray's way. It's going to be close. It's going to be interesting, but I just think the Turkish side are the better team on this one. The other early match on Wednesday evening is going to be between Atletico and Qarabag. Now, this one I'm really looking forward to. I didn't originally have it on my calendar, but I'm looking forward to this one now based on how they've played. Athletic Club are off to a pretty brutal start. They came away with a 2-0 loss to Arsenal on Matchday 1, followed by a 4-1 thumping to Dortmund on Matchday 2. So they're not in the best place right now. Qarabag, on the other hand, are one of the only few unbeaten teams that still remain, which is honestly crazy to think about. They came away with a 3-2 victory over Benfica on Matchday 1 when they scored 3 goals to save that game, and then they kind of dominated Copenhagen in their second game to win 2-0. So they're playing really well at the moment, and I don't see their momentum stopping in their match against Athletic Club. I don't think these two teams have ever played before, so it's going to be a really interesting clash of footballing ideology. But if we look at the table, Qarabag want to maintain that unbeaten streak right now. I don't know how manageable that is, but they're going to be looking to do that. Athletic Club, on the other hand, are third to last in the table, so they really need a win if they want to secure a spot in the playoffs. This is going to be an interesting one, but I think Athletic Club might come away with a win in this one. I'm going to say a 1-0 victory going their way over Qarabag, ending their momentum. Now let's talk about the match that I'm most looking forward to, which is Bayern Munich versus Club Brugge. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a Bayern fan, so I'm going to be really rooting for them in this one. They've been good to start the season. They had a thrilling 3-1 victory over Chelsea on Matchday 1, which honestly they played really well in that game. And then a pretty comfortable 5-1 victory over Paphos on Matchday 2. Club Brugge, on the other hand, they are doing a bit differently. So they had a 4-1 victory over Monaco on Matchday 1, where they were clearly the better side. But then their second match against Atalanta wasn't the same story. They suffered a 2-1 loss. They played well in that game, but Atalanta are just stronger. If we take a look at this upcoming game between Bayern and Club Brugge, I don't really think the Belgian side have much of a chance. Like, yeah, Bayern have a few injuries to key players, but as you can tell, they've been dominating all the teams that they come up against so far. Club Brugge have been struggling a bit more with their matches, so I don't really see them putting up much of a fight in this one. If I'm going to make a prediction, I'm going to go with a 4-1 victory going Bayern Munich's way in this game. It's going to be a pretty dominant match from the German side, and that's just how it's going to end. The next game to talk about is going to be a thriller between Chelsea and Ajax. I'm really looking forward to this one. Chelsea have had an interesting start to the campaign. They had a 3-1 loss to Bayern on Matchday 1, where they had a few moments of good football, but they weren't able to break through Bayern's defense that many times. And then against Benfica, this was a really close game. I honestly think they could have scored a few more goals in this one, but they ended up with a 1-0 victory over the Portuguese side. Ajax, on the other hand, have not been playing well, to say the least. They haven't even scored a goal in the campaign yet. They had a 2-0 loss to Inter on Matchday 1 at home, where they played okay, but nothing too crazy. And then on Matchday 2, I thought they would put up a fight against Marseille, but they ended up losing 4-0. So that was pretty rough on their part. Taking a look at this upcoming game, I don't know why, but I have a feeling it's going to be a lot closer than most people think. This might be Ajax's best chance to prove that they actually belong in the Champions League, that they're going to be playing pretty well. Chelsea have a bunch of injuries at the moment to pretty key players, so if Ajax are going to steal points, it's going to be in this game. The last time they played each other was in the 2019 Champions League, and this was a thrilling Group H fixture, 4-4 on the second game, and then Ajax lost to Chelsea 1-0, but last time they beat them was 15 years ago, so it's not impossible. What's my prediction for this one? I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw going both ways at the end of 90 minutes. I don't think either side has what it takes to win, so a draw between these two sides is the best that's going to come. So let's talk about the marquee matchup from this set of games, which is obviously Real Madrid versus Juventus. Now this one is the one that everyone's going to be talking about. Real Madrid have been pretty good so far. They came away with a 2-1 victory against Marseille on Matchday 1 after going down 1-0 in the first half, and then they kind of dominated Kairat with a 5-0 victory in Kazakhstan, which everyone was expecting. Juventus, on the other hand, have been very up and down so far. So in their first game against the Borussia Dortmund, they were like minutes away from losing, and then they scored 2 goals out of nowhere to secure a 4-4 draw. And then against Villarreal, honestly, they should have done better, but a 2-2 draw was the best that they could have come up with. So it's hard to tell where Juventus are right now, but I feel like Real Madrid are obviously the better team. It's tough though, because both teams are dealing with a lot of injuries at the moment, as you can see, and Juventus haven't even won a game in their last 5 matches, so I don't think they have much of a chance in this one. For my prediction for this game, I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory going Real Madrid's way. It's going to be a good match, but I think the Spanish side are just stronger in about every single capacity. So the next game of the day is going to be between Eintracht Frankfurt and Liverpool. Now this one I'm really looking forward to, because it's going to be Hugo Ekitike going up against his former side. Let's see how Eintracht have done so far. So their first game, they came away with a 5-1 victory over Galatasaray. This was a great performance from them, offensive masterclass. And then in their second game against Atletico Madrid, they reversed that scoreline to come away with a 5-1 loss. So it's been up and down for the German side so far. For Liverpool though, they had a very narrow game against Atletico Madrid on Matchday 1, and it took a Van Dijk header in like the final minute to secure that victory. 3-2 win for them. And then against Galatasaray, they really should have done better. Like, I don't know how they didn't manage to score a single goal in that game, but they came away with a 1-0 loss. Taking a look at this next game though, it's hard to tell how the score is going to go in this one. Like, I think it's going to be a close game. I think Liverpool have the advantage here, but they are on a 3-game losing streak right now, and I'm pretty sure they're playing Manchester United at the moment, so we're going to see how that game ends up. Eintracht Frankfurt aren't doing much better apart from their crazy 6-4 victory against Borussia Mönchengladbach. It's been a pretty tough time for them. My prediction for this one, I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory going Liverpool's way. Hugo Ekitike might score against his former club, but it should be 3 more points for the English side. Moving on to Atalanta and Slavia Prague's matchup in Italy. This is going to be a good one for most neutral fans out there if you decide to tune in. Atalanta are always an interesting side. In their first game, they lost 4-0 to PSG. That was pretty rough for them, but then they made up for it with a 2-1 victory over Club Brugge on Matchday 2. Slavia Prague, on the other hand, are kind of struggling at the moment. They had a 2-2 draw against Bodo Glimt, which they played some pretty good football. They should have come away with a win in that one, but they weren't able to close it down. And then they suffered a 3-0 loss to Inter Milan on Matchday 2, where they really had no chance from the start. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster for them as well. Looking forward to this next match though. Slavia Prague have a bunch of injuries at the moment. How many of these players are going to come back for this game, I'm not too sure, but Atalanta also have a few injuries as well. How it's going to go though, my prediction is going to be a 4-2 victory for Atalanta. I think they're going to be doing pretty well in this game, and they should move up in the ranking on this one. The next game of the day is going to be a really good match between Sporting CP and Marseille. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think these two teams are pretty level when it comes to skill and their performances so far. So Sporting came away with a 4-1 victory over Kairat on Matchday 1, which they deserved. They played really well in that game. They were definitely the better side. Against Napoli, though, on Matchday 2, they only were able to come away with a 2-1 loss. I think they maybe could have come away with a draw on this one if they scored on a few more of the bigger chances, but it just wasn't meant to be. Marseille, on the other hand, are playing really well at the moment. They have a lot of momentum. They played really well in their 2-1 loss to Real Madrid on Matchday 1, and they scored the opening goal. So I think they learned a lot from that game going to Matchday 2. And as you can tell, they came away with a 4-0 victory over Ajax. So they definitely have the momentum right now, and I think their players are slowly starting to get used to Champions League football again. Looking forward to this game, though. They have a few injuries, like Guiri is out, Traore is out, but as you can tell, that hasn't stopped them from performing well in these 5 games. Sporting, on the other hand, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride for them, so I don't really know how this one's going to go. They're head-to-head, though. They've played a few times in the past few years. Marseille came away with both of those wins in the Champions League. My prediction for this game, I think Sporting might shock us all and come away with a 1-0 victory over Marseille, slowing down their momentum. So the final game of Matchday 3 is going to be between Monaco and Tottenham. Now this one I'm also looking forward to. If we take a look at how Monaco's played so far, they had a pretty rough 4-1 loss to Club Brugge on Matchday 1. I don't think they were expecting to lose by that big of a margin, but they redeemed themselves with a 2-2 draw against Manchester City at home on Matchday 2, so they're not playing that bad. Tottenham, on the other hand, if we take a look at how they've played, they barely scraped away a 1-0 victory against Villarreal on Matchday 1, which required an own goal from the Villarreal goalkeeper, and then they couldn't even beat Bodo Glimt on Matchday 2. They had a 2-2 draw with them, which was again a great match, but they probably should have won that game. So they've been a bit of a roller coaster team so far. Taking a look at this upcoming game though, both teams have a bunch of injuries right now at the moment. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the two lineups come around for this game. Neither side are really going into this game with a hot streak of momentum right now. Tottenham just lost 2-1 to Aston Villa, so it's going to be a bit complicated to predict this one, but they have played each other quite a few times in the past 10 years. Monaco have come away with 3 wins. Tottenham came away with a win back in the Europa League. So like these teams have some history here. They've played each other before. My prediction for this one, I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-2 thriller going Tottenham's way, and they're going to get 3 more points on the board, with Monaco looking for their first win of the tournament up to this point. So these are the 18 games that are happening on Matchday 3 in the Champions League this week. We have a lot of good games to look forward to. There's a few games between 2 heavyweights, which are the marquee matchups I'm going to be looking forward to. There's going to be a few games that I think most people should tune in for that they might miss, so if you do that, definitely check out the highlights. But yeah, we have a lot of good games to look forward to. I think the league table is going to shape up with some good results this week, and yeah, look forward to Matchday 3 in the Champions League this week. But what do you think of the Matchday 3 games in this season's version of the UEFA Champions League? Which match are you most looking forward to, and are there any shock results that you're predicting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.